Bom dia, Farm Fam. Today's video is going to be tips and recommendations based off of my own experience after living here for 1 year on Terceira Island. As some of you know, my family of 4 and our 2 dogs moved here to Terceira Island from San Diego, California. Along the way, there has been many wonderful things, of course, that has happened, but there's also been a couple of bumps in the road. There goes my wash. So one of the goals of our channel is to try to help ease some of the stress off of folks that are planning on moving here to Terceira Island from really any place in the world, because I think a lot of these tips can be applied to other folks other than just people that are moving from the United States. But I want to start by, I would say probably one of my most important tips and recommendations, and that is to try to learn as much of the European Portuguese language as you possibly can prior to moving out here. I made the mistake of knowing that my family was going to move out here 3 years in advance and not studying the language. So there are a few YouTube videos that I have been watching to try to better my Portuguese, and I'm going to try to link that in the description to the best of my capability. If not, I will put the name, type in the name of the YouTube channels that I've been watching. One of the most important phrases that I have learned so far is to say, sorry, I don't speak Portuguese, and then ask basically if they speak English. And that goes something like, desculpa, não fala português, fala inglês. But that allows me to somewhat get by as far as like being polite, because often people just approach you and they start speaking in Portuguese and you don't want to be rude. And be quiet. They're gonna assume that you're being rude. So I would say, if anything, learn the basic greetings. Learn the terms of politeness prior to showing up here on the island. I think that would have been a lot more beneficial to us. My husband does understand Portuguese, but he has a hard time speaking it. But he's actually been doing a lot better, and he does speak it when he needs to. So that leads us into the next recommendation. If you have school-age children, I do recommend enrolling them in the local schools here on the island. They're going to be completely surrounded by other Portuguese-speaking students. Some folks have asked in the comments, do they provide translators and things like that? And unfortunately, they do not provide translators, so the kids are kind of just thrown into it. And that often will cause what they call a transition year, where the student is kind of getting a grasp of the language and going to maybe 1 or 2 years of school before they get back on track with their regular academics, because it's important for them to know the language prior to doing any other sort of studying. It's going to be very challenging for them to do, let's say, something like history, where the teacher's up in front of the classroom conducting a lesson and the children have no idea what the teacher's saying. And so again, that goes back into try to learn as much of the language as possible prior to coming here. So one thing I wanted to touch base with the schools as well too is they do have a beginner's course of Portuguese there. So they will be, some students are doing it 2 to 3 times a week. Some students are doing it 5 days a week. One thing that I was actually quite surprised about is that they actually learn French as well. Well, depending on what grade. I believe they start teaching French in 3rd grade, possibly. I know both of my children had to take a French course with the local school program, and that makes it even more challenging because they're already trying to learn Portuguese and then they have to learn an additional language on top of that. But that's not to say it's not doable. If you think about it, the Portuguese kids out here are taking English and French at the same time. So even though they are taking English in class, that doesn't mean that they are fluent in English. And it is, I'm not going to lie, it might be a little challenging for the children in the beginning if they don't have at least the foundation of the Portuguese language. So after going over that, that really allows us to kind of easily transition into our next topic, and that is transcripts and documentations and things like that. One thing that my family was not aware of prior to moving out here is that if you are trying to obtain a Portuguese citizenship, which we are trying to do that. My husband is a Portuguese citizen or a European citizen, because he was born here, and it allows us, myself and the children, to automatically get citizenship. But of course you still have to go through all of the paperwork and stuff like that. One thing that we were not aware of is that you need to have a certified copy of your birth certificate, which we did have, but you also need to get like an episil. So it's basically like a cover letter done by a notary or an attorney or something like that, and it basically proves that your birth certificate is authentic. Even though the birth certificates come with that stamp on the bottom of them, you're still going to need to get the episil for that. I would also recommend getting those documents translated. And the reason why I chose this topic next was because one thing that I did not know about is that they do require certified copies of the children's transcripts. So in order to enroll them in school, I mean, they'll enroll them and they'll get them started, but they do want those certified transcripts in order to make things official and to give them the credits, and the points that they deserve after completing courses here on the island. So also I do recommend, if it's going to be something that's fairly easy for you, sometimes these places are all in the same location, to get those documents translated as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the vehicle. If you are planning on shipping your vehicle over here to the island, you want to take into consideration it's going to take 3 months for you to receive that vehicle. That leaves you with a couple of options, and one is to rent a car, but 3 months is kind of a lengthy time period to rent a vehicle. Take the public bus transportation, which does have its challenges all on its own, or borrow a vehicle from somebody that you know out here, which it doesn't apply necessarily to everyone. So another thing that you want to also take into consideration is they will not allow you to sell that vehicle off to any other parties for up to 5 years after moving here. You also want to try to get a tune-up, like a full tune-up on the vehicle before you put it in the shipping container, and possibly have it rechecked once it arrives. There are some rust factors and moisture that you want to take into consideration that could harm the vehicle and cause it to not run as efficiently as you would like it to once it's over here. Try your hardest to renew your driver's license before you come here. Coincidentally, my driver's license expired 1 month before we needed to move out here. So I just went in on my birthday, of course, and renewed my driver's license. My husband's did expire and there was a little overlap, but we still were able to get in there and get him, a new driver's license before we left. The reason being is because you can use that license out here without having to get a Portuguese driver's license until that license expires. There is also some other tidbits of information that I would like to add to this once I do a little more research myself, because I think there has been a change in policy in regards to the driver's license since we moved out here. And I will comment in the description below if there's something that I feel is important to add to this video. But I believe we were under the impression that if you also print out your driver's record, you can actually switch your United States driver's license over to the Portugal driver's license without having to take the test. And that obviously would be very beneficial for me because I don't speak the language, and having to take a driving test in a different language, Portuguese, is very intimidating. But luckily I do have 5 years before that does have to be addressed. Okay, also I would definitely recommend to try to assign a trusted friend or family member power of attorney over your local bank account, the one that you would be using prior to moving. There has been a few bumps in the road as far as like being able to cash or deposit checks and then have it sent over from one account to another account so that we can utilize it here in the form of euros. So for example, just to get into it real quick, we received a US Treasury check in the mail. I did not have my United States bank account open anymore. I had to actually try to deposit that check out here, and they put a 4-month hold on the check. So again, it just makes life a lot easier for those unforeseen circumstances if there's somebody out there to be able to handle that bank account when you are not able to be there. I would also recommend trying to keep that bank account open for 6 months to a year, maybe even permanently if you can. I just know that we will probably be doing some sort of business, online purchases, things like that, that will, come from the United States, that we're going to want that United States bank account. I'm running into some situations with PayPal and Venmo and Cash App and things like that, trying to use my European, or my Portugal credit card or debit card. Unfortunately, there was a few unforeseen circumstances that, I was wishing that we kept that account open longer than we did. Okay, so that leads us into some of the more important things on the list, and something that I didn't even think I was going to have to deal with. But one, if you have a smartphone, iPhone 13 and up, you do not have to do this. But if you have a iPhone 12 and lower, you do. You need to go into your cell phone carrier and tell them that you are going to be moving to Europe, and have the phone unlocked to be able to accept a European SIM card. That actually has to be done by the place that you purchased your phone from, or that you're getting your service from. I'm pretty sure it has to be by the place that you purchased your phone from. So luckily, we did get a little tip from someone else, and we were able to achieve that prior to moving. But we did not think to change over all of our secondary verifications. And I'm talking some of the stuff that you wouldn't even think that you would need to do, like your Facebook, your Instagram, if you're a gamer, again, Discord, WhatsApp, things like that. Anything that requires a password and asks you for your phone number and like sends you that SMS or whatever it's called, the text message where they send you a code and then you have to enter it to verify that it's you. Change over all of that, because unfortunately I did not, and I lost access to my original Facebook account and my original Instagram account, and I had many years of memories there with the children, pictures of the children being infants, and all of our adventures and things like that are now lost to the iCloud, basically. And it's going to require some time to go back and retrieve those pictures, if they're even there, because sometimes I did not have enough storage to store everything. So I'm crossing my fingers there and hoping that I can sit down and spend some time and try to retrieve those pictures and things like that. And that leads us into the last little tip here. Try to continue at least one phone line for 3 to 6 months after moving here. There will be, again, some odds and ends, some places that will want to send you that text message, and if you no longer have that phone number and that phone number is no longer in service, there is going to be no way that they can send you that message. So So you can end up getting locked out of some of the technical accounts that you're using, such as PlayStation Network and things like that that you probably wouldn't even think about before moving here, and we didn't. So yeah, try to switch over, maybe make a list of all of your secondary verifications and have that switched over to either an email, or if you already have your European telephone number, switch it over to your European telephone number if you can. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. There is a Facebook group that I would recommend. It's called Terceira Expats. Unfortunately, I only found them like a couple of weeks ago, but if I had found them earlier on, I think it would have been way more beneficial. But this group is basically for folks that are moving to Terceira Island or have already moved to Terceira Island from really anywhere. They don't limit it to just Canada and the United States. So wherever you're from, you can join this group if you go through their little, questionnaire. But yeah, everything's in English in this Facebook group. They use Facebook a lot out here. So probably refresh that if you haven't already. Like, I was only using mine for photos. I hadn't been on there in a while, so make sure you have access to that. But yeah, they do community events. They know all the news, all the touradas or the bullfights, all of the festas and the barbecues and the parties. They know everything, and if they don't know it, they can find it somehow. That's actually where I was able to find my part-time job. So again, it's called Terceira Expats. It's on Facebook. You will have to go through a little, survey to make sure that you're qualified to enter the group. I think they have almost 1,000 members there right now, and it has been tremendously helpful to me being a foreigner. And one thing real quick that I want to chat with you guys about. The channel is this close, literally this close to 1,000 subscribers. I think we're at 940 subscribers. The reason why we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers is because YouTube allows you to have a different set of perks, if you will. I have some ideas in store, 3 really strong ideas for t-shirts, like merch, Farm Fam merch, that I would love to get out to you guys, but YouTube will not allow us to do that until we hit 1,000 subscribers. And I think there's some other perks, maybe starting to form a Patreon group as well. And I think that would be really fun for the channels. There's been a few of you that have been there from the very beginning, and I appreciate each and every one of the folks that are subscribing and the folks that are viewing the channel as well. And I know there are a lot of viewers out there that are watching the channel and have not subscribed yet. So if that is you, if you guys are religiously watching these videos and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, because every subscription helps this channel reach our goals. So yeah, please continue. If you do see me out there in public, stop and talk to me. I promise you it's not a bother. There may be an incident where I'm trying to catch the bus, or, on my way to work, where I'm I can only chat very briefly. But we can exchange contact information. If you guys want to find me on Facebook, I'm under Annie Nova, ANNIE NOVA. And then you'll see my profile picture, of course, to know that it's me. Also, if you guys are trying to request me as a friend, please do so. But maybe send me a message and let me know that you're from the channel. And that way I feel more comfortable accepting your friend request, because there are a lot of scams and, people out there that I may not want to have in my social network, my little tight group, if you will. So yeah, I just wanted to go over that last little bit with you guys. I want to also thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. All of the subscribers, all of the people that I've been following from the very beginning. You mean the world to us, seriously. It has made this foreign lady from America feel a lot more welcome, with all of your kind comments and all of the support that you guys have provided within the last year of us living here on Terceira Island. So that pretty much sums up the video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye for now.